what I've said is we will set a timetable of 1 to 2 brigades per month being withdrawn. At that pace, it'll take about 16 months to get our combat troops out. We'll still have troops there to protect the embassy, protect humanitarian workers, and a strike force to be able to go after Al-Qaeda if it reconstitutes itself. But keep in mind, 16 months from the time I take office, that's 2 years from now. We've already been there 5 years. If we can't get the Iraqi government to stand up after 7 years, we're not going to get them to stand up after 14 years, or 21 years, or 28 years. I mean, you don't want to just, at some point you've got to say, all right, we've gotten rid of Saddam Hussein, we've put billions of dollars into this, we've trained your army, we've trained your police force, you've got to take responsibility, and that largely revolves around negotiating for political settlement between the Shia, the Sunni, and the Kurds. And we will actively pursue diplomacy, but what's happening is, without a timetable, they don't feel like they've got to compromise at all, because their attitude is, well, if anything happens, the U.S. is there to back us up. They've got to take more responsibility. So that's on Iraq. Now, part of these two things are connected. Our problem with infrastructure has to do with the fact that we've so far spent over $600 billion in Iraq. By the time this thing is all over, we will have spent well over $1 trillion. Imagine if we had used $1 trillion to rebuild our infrastructure here in the United States and to invest in our manufacturing capacity, to help U.S. automakers and manufacturers retool, to put money into research and development on everything from biotech to communications and telecom. Think about the strength of our economic position right now. And the fact that we didn't, I think, is just tragic. But it's not too late for us to at least avoid making the same mistakes going forward. I've proposed a $60 billion infrastructure reinvestment fund that will leverage private dollars along with public dollars to rebuild roads, bridges, locks, dams, lay broadband lines around the country, and for us to start working on this digital or electricity grid, which is going to be absolutely critical. I was visiting a company in Oregon that makes solar, it's not the panels, it was the inverters, I think is what it's called. It's basically the box that takes the energy from the panels and then converts it into usable form. And they were explaining to me that one of the constraints around solar power is right now how to make sure that the distribution of that electricity is working in an economical way. And if we converted our grid, not only would we be in a position to prevent blackouts and brownouts, but we could also build in the kinds of designs that make it easier for us to use alternative energy. And by the way, all this stuff creates jobs. I mean, the great thing about rebuilding our infrastructure is it puts people back to work right away, but it also then lays the groundwork for us being more competitive in the future. This will be a top priority when I'm president, but it's hard for us to afford being able to do it if we're spending as much money as we are in Iraq. And that's got to change. Okay? All right. It's a woman's turn. I'll make sure I'm not ignoring anybody back here. Okay? All right. Oh, all right. I'm going to try to get to here. I got this one right here, and then I'll go back.
Hello, Senator Obama. My name is Sarah West. I'm a citizen of Royal Oak. It's a real honor to be here today. I'm also a military wife. My father was a Vietnam veteran, or is a Vietnam veteran. My husband has deployed 5 times. He is a pilot here at Selfridge Air National Guard Base. I'm extremely proud of him. He loves his country so much that he's decided to make his life one for the military. My brother also serves in the Air Force. My cousins are in the Marines. They have served probably more than 5 years between them overseas. My question is regarding taking care of our veterans, not only of my father's generation, but the current generation. There is so much red tape involved, whether it is education benefits, whether it is health care benefits, whether it is for my uncle who suffered a stroke and is a Vietnam veteran. My question is, when are we going to start being proactive rather than reactive to our veterans? When are we going to start seeing that the bases are not well taken care of? Instead of the press finding out about it, our government starting to do something about it ahead of time. This GI Bill, I hope, goes through, and that I know Senator McCain is currently finds too generous. I don't know how you can ever be too generous with a small number of men and women who decide to serve their country. How do you support a new GI Bill, and what are you going to do to help our veterans, old and young, come back to here and that they're well taken care of?
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thanks to your whole family for their service to our country. And to your wife. You're a great support. You know, the story you tell, and you're so articulate, but also with so much passion. You know, it's a story you hear all across the country. People are devoting their lives to protecting this country, and then when they come home, they're finding themselves not served as well as they've served our country. And it's shameful, and that's why, yeah, you think you're upset about it too, right? Absolutely. And you know, when I first joined the United States Senate, I immediately asked for a seat on the Veterans Affairs Committee, because as I traveled through my home state of Illinois, I was meeting people who couldn't get their disability payments. They were, you know, unable to get in to see a doctor in a timely fashion. You know, just all the red tape that you're talking about, and I wanted to see if I could clear it. And we made some progress. You know, we reduced waiting times for disability payments in Illinois, and we got the awards up higher. I was able in the Senate to pass. When I first got there, did you know that folks who were in Walter Reed recovering and in rehab, they were having to pay for their meals and their telephone calls. Yeah, they had to pay for their own food. It was being taken out of their Army paychecks, which I couldn't believe. And so we changed that quickly. But we've got so much more work to do. So here are my priorities when it comes to Veterans Affairs. You asked when's this going to happen? It's going to happen when I'm president. Number one.